Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm hoping this has gone live. I think it has. Happy Friday, everybody. I asked, a couple of weeks ago, I asked members of the group and my clients sort of their top questions. I always regret saying, what do you want to know? So I've been inundated with various questions, and it's always the way that when somebody asks a question, you've kind of got to go, well, that's step 3, what's the 2 steps before it, and the reasons why, and that kind of stuff. So anyway, today I thought I was going to be able to talk about and show you some self-limiting exercises, but it's chucking it down, and my kettlebells and my skipping rope and everything are outside in the back garden, and I don't fancy getting blown about and wet through, to be honest. So I'm going to talk about what self-limiting exercises are, why I'm talking about it, and then over the next few days I'll kind of give you some demonstrations of what they are. Part of the reason why is because we're coming up to this 30-day strength challenge, and there's going to be a couple of things that I ask you to do outside of the actual sessions themselves, and I want you to kind of understand the reasons why, or my reasoning behind it. And also partly because whenever I mention self-limiting exercises, nobody actually knows what I'm talking about, which implies that it's not particularly well known. So I thought I'd tell you all about it and you can make your own decision from there, essentially. You know, when we talk about exercise choices, I'm a firm believer in keeping it simple. You should be able to hinge, squat, lift and carry, push and pull, and that's about it. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. It doesn't need to be Instagram worthy. It just needs to be effective. I'm all for getting the most bang for your buck when it comes to exercises. Getting it done when I say as quickly as possible, I don't mean rushing through it. What I mean is if you pick the right exercises, you don't need to spend an awful lot of time either in the gym or in your back garden like I do with kettlebells. So self-limiting exercises then. So you've got your traditional gym machines and your free weights and all that kind of thing. But if you think about a gym machine, it's kind of foolproof and it's made that way. It's like the health and safety mania sweeping the world. You know, you sit on a machine, you push and pull some levers, and you don't have to think about it very much. You sort of sit and stare at the little telly above all the gym machines. And you just get on with it, and there's no thought process required, and your body isn't really learning anything. So your brain and your body are learning nothing. You're just going through the motions, essentially. So self-limiting exercises, on the other hand, they're actually quite simple, which you'll see when I give you some examples, but they can't be done unless you're totally present in the moment and the movement, and you're totally aware of what your body's up to. And it creates a real mind-body connection. The exercises themselves, they need you to be able to adjust on the fly in the moment, or you risk failing in the movement. So unlike the machines that I talked about at the gym, you know, like you've got your lat pull down machine or whatever, they don't need you to adjust. They don't need your brain and body to be that connected. They're essentially designed to eradicate failure, and your body doesn't learn from that. Your body and your brain learn from failing. So how do I put this? If you think about when you were, when you were a baby, or if you've got a baby or you've seen one, let's put it that way. You can't remember when you were a baby, I can't. But they learn to crawl, they turn over, they push themselves up on the hands and knees. Eventually they start crawling, and then they find a sofa or whatever, and they drag themselves up to standing. And they do all that without anybody standing next to them telling them how to do it. So they don't have a coach, and they don't have a personal trainer. And their little brains work through trial and error. What works, what doesn't, and they repeat what works, and that's about it. And the failure here is like their attempt to stand and falling on the bum. And eventually a child will learn how to align themselves optimally so that they can balance. They'll learn how to adapt let's call it a nice posture, an optimal posture, and then how to move from there, like the walking, running that comes next. But when we get older, when we become adults, we kind of become thinkers, and if you're a bit like me, an overthinker, we analyse and we assess, and we want to be told how to do something. We want somebody to tell us exactly what to do and how to do it, and we rely on like external things, people, to tell us what to do, and kind of lose all that playfulness. And we also lose the willingness to fail, or that willingness to fail to learn. My cat is trying to cover up her food with the floor, essentially. Anyway, but self-limiting exercises are a way to take back, or a way back to taking your thinking brain out of the equation and allowing your non-thinking brain and your body to do what they do best, which is engage with their environment, process how best to do a movement without your interference, and then learn from that process and apply it to other situations. And so the exercises, like I said, the exercises, there's a few. There's some that are more obvious than others, or better than others, you might say. The 5 that I'm going to go through, 2 today and probably 3 tomorrow if it gets nicer weather, are sort of my favourites. They're my go-to ones for a lot of people. You know, it depends where they're at. If somebody's coming and they're just a runner and they want strength training and that kind of stuff, then these are a definite go-to. If I'm training somebody or working with somebody who's injured or rehabilitating after surgery, it might take me longer to get there, but they're pretty much, you know, they're universal, but they're good for most people most of the time, let's put it that way. So the first one, and the perhaps most obvious, is barefoot running. So we're calling this a self-limiting exercise. In other words, the exercise itself will stop you doing it at the point at which you can't do it anymore. So if you take off your shoes and socks and you find a bit of road that you would normally run down, no problem at all, you take off your shoes and socks and you set off running, what you'll find is you quickly, here she is, say hello, you finished covering your food up? What you'll quickly find is that it's usually going to be your foot skin that fails first. So the skin on the bottom of your foot is going to give up the ghost fairly quickly because it's not used to it. And if you manage to run past that, or if your foot skin is fairly robust, then the chances are that your foot, ankle, calf, Achilles, that kind of stuff will start to tell you fairly quickly that you're not used to running barefoot. And that's partly because, you know, the shoes that we wear, if you watch the last workshop I did, you know, the truth about trainers, and give you some idea where this is coming from, but the shoe itself gives you a false sense of security. Your body can't actually sense the impact that's coming up from the ground. You take your shoes and socks off and your body quickly realises just what's actually happening. You know, you might find, we're going to argue that this is a good thing to do just for short distances, to notice if your running stride changes. You know, you might not land quite as heavily on your heel. You might even find that you change your foot strike entirely and land more midfoot or forefoot. You might shorten your stride. You might soften your knees to take some of that impact. So, yeah, like I said, your body quickly works out that it's going to fatigue fairly quickly, and your foot skin probably is going to give up the ghost. So that's a really good example of a self-limiting exercise. Another one is skipping. So the next one, skipping, and I'm telling you this because everybody asked me why we're going to be doing skipping in the strength training. This is the reason why. It's cheap to get a rope, and it's dead effective. And I'll do skipping in full tomorrow, but it's another self-limiting exercise or example thereof. You need great posture, your alignment needs to be good, your timing needs to be good, you need to be able to stay tall, keep that posture, and work your arms and legs. Coordination is the word I'm looking for. You need to be able to coordinate your arms and legs, and if you can't, then you're just going to keep hitting the rope. So there's another example of a self-limiting exercise. If you're not capable of doing it, you won't be able to do it. There's nothing, I can't coach somebody through skipping, just like I can't coach somebody through barefoot running. You can either do it or you can't. And your body will adapt to what you're asking it to do, such as barefoot running. If you go barefoot running enough, your foot skin will adapt. You'll get thicker skin on the sole of your foot, which is actually what's supposed to be there, not this lovely soft surface that we've got at the moment. Yeah, and your feet and ankles will get stronger a lot quicker than they would. Well, they're not getting stronger in a shoe at all. So just coming back to the barefoot running then, it's a really good idea if you're relatively fit and healthy, you know, you've no problems with your feet, ankles and shins, that kind of stuff. But before you go for a run, take your shoes and socks off, find a piece of road that is nice and smooth, or even grass, you know, check it out for dog doo-doo and sharp stuff. But other than that, find an area that's safe, take your shoes and socks off, and just go for a little trot round. And the impact it has is... it does have impact on your feet and legs, which is a good thing, but the impact it has on your brain and body connection, it reconnects your feet to your brain and helps you manage the impact. When you put your shoes and socks back on and go for your proper run, you've actually woken your feet up a little bit and reminded them that they've got something to do. So that's kind of where I want to get to today. Like I say, it's chucking it down outside. So I'll cover the rest of them over the next couple of days. But have a think about, you know, going for a bit of a barefoot run when you can, and investing in a skipping rope if you're thinking about doing the 30-day challenge, because we are going to use the skipping rope and skipping. And I'll explain why tomorrow when I can get outside with my skipping rope. All right, speak to you soon.